Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm taking you on an unforgettable adventure. This story dives into ancient times, forgotten valleys, and mysterious ruins long hidden from the world. Our heroes, Ardin and Lira, are on a mission to uncover the secrets of the Constellars and to confront the Devouring Star, a dark, ancient force that threatens everything. Get ready to step into a world of magic, danger, and discovery, as every choice they make could change the fate of their world forever. Let's dive in. The desert night stretched endlessly across the horizon, a soft black ocean shimmering beneath silver stars. Warm wind moved over the dunes like a sleeping creature breathing slowly, carrying the faint scent of dried sage and ancient stone. Far from the heart of the known world stood a settlement so old that even its oldest elders had forgotten how it began. The people called it Varushan. The land called it nothing at all. At the edge of this ancient settlement lived a young man named Arukin. Only 20 summers had passed over him, but he always felt as though he carried memories older than his lifetime. His calm amber eyes seemed to read the horizon the way others read stories. He preferred the nights when the world grew quiet. While the village slept, he sat outside his small clay house and studied the sky with a question he whispered every night. What came before us? But on this particular night, the stars did not whisper back. They did not flicker or dance as they usually did. They hung perfectly still, as if frozen in the heavens. The silence was so strange, so complete, that Arukin felt a shiver travel down his arms. The desert insects, usually humming softly in the background, had gone quiet too, as though the whole world waited for something unseen. He stood slowly, eyes locked onto the sky. A single star, one he had never noticed before, began to pulse. Its light grew brighter, then brighter still, until it became the most brilliant point in the night. And then, very slowly, it began to descend. It did not fall like a meteor. It lowered itself gently, like a lantern being brought down from the ceiling of the sky. Arukin's breath caught. The star drifted toward the horizon, glowing gold against the dark dunes, until it finally hovered above the sand. The light dimmed just enough for him to see a shape forming inside it, a figure, tall and draped in something that was neither cloth nor light, but something between. The presence radiated peacefulness, as if carrying with it the calm of endless time. A voice entered Arukin's mind without sound. "Do not fear the quiet." Arukin whispered shakily, "Who are you?" "A keeper of stories," the voice answered softly, warm and ancient. "You stand at the beginning, and the ending has not yet chosen its shape." "I don't understand," Arukin said. "You will," the figure continued. "But first, you must follow the place where silence sleeps." The glowing figure lifted a hand. The sand rippled outward in a perfect circle, revealing a massive stone ring buried beneath the desert. Thick with age, covered in carvings like constellations, the ring looked like something made in a time before memory. Arukin stepped closer, heart pounding. "What is that?" "A doorway," the voice whispered. "Older than kingdoms, older than your world's oldest stories. It does not open for those who seek power, only for those who seek understanding." "Why me?" Arukin asked. "Because you are the one who listens," the figure replied. The light flickered, and the figure vanished, dissolving into the soft night breeze. The desert came alive again with faint insect song. The stars resumed their natural glow, but the enormous stone ring remained, silent, waiting. Arukin stood alone in the moonlit sand, unsure whether he was dreaming or awake. But every instinct in him whispered that this moment was real, more real than anything he had ever lived. He walked toward the ring. As he approached, he noticed the carvings on the stone. They were shaped like stars, lines, and symbols of skis he did not recognize. When he touched one, the stone warmed beneath his fingers and glowed faintly. A soft hum vibrated within it. Suddenly, the entire ring lit up. A gentle pulse spread across its carvings like lanterns being lit in a circle. The center of the ring shimmered, turning into a surface like rippling silver water. Arukin froze. Then he heard a voice, but not ancient this time. Younger, softer, almost playful. "Are you coming?" Arukin turned, but no one was behind him. The voice echoed again from the glowing circle. "Hurry, the sands shift soon." He stepped closer, uneasy. "Who's there?" A soft laugh drifted from the light. "Someone who has been waiting a very long time." Then a hand reached through the silver surface. A human hand. Small, delicate, calm. It did not pull, it simply waited. Arukin hesitated for several heartbeats. Then he reached out. Their fingertips touched, and a warm pull guided him gently forward. He passed through the shimmering circle like moving through warm water. Silence surrounded him. Peaceful, deep silence. Light formed around him, gold and soft like dawn. The sensation felt like drifting through a dream he did not want to leave. Gradually, the world took shape. He stood on stone ground, smooth, polished, faintly glowing. The air smelled of fresh water and night flowers. Before him stretched a magnificent city, unlike anything in the world he knew. Tall pillars twisted like vines, bridges arched with no support, and buildings shimmered like woven starlight. The sky glowed with eternal twilight, neither day nor night. A girl stood waiting for him beneath a tall crystalline arch. Her hair was long and dark, shimmering with a soft blue reflection from the sky. Her eyes were a striking silver, bright yet gentle. "You're late," she said with a small smile. Arukin stared, stunned. "You're real." She laughed lightly. "Most people say that when they arrive." "Where am I?" he asked. "You're in Lunaria," she replied. "The city between moments, the place that waits for those who listen." Arukin swallowed hard. "I don't understand." "You will," she said, "but first you need rest." "Rest? Crossing the Echo Gate takes more from you than you notice. Your spirit is tired." Arukin breathed out slowly. She was right. He felt a quiet heaviness inside him. "Come," she said, offering her hand. "The city is safe, it always has been." He hesitated, then took her hand. Warmth spread instantly through him, and the golden light of Lunaria wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. For the first time in a long time, Arukin felt completely at peace. A deep, ancient peace whispering of stories yet to come. Arukin followed the silver-eyed girl through the quiet, shimmering streets of Lunaria. The city wrapped him in a sense of calm he had never known, as if every stone remembered peaceful centuries. The soft twilight that covered this strange place glowed gently over the tall arches, curved bridges, and towers made from a material that looked like crystal and living mist blended together. As they walked, the girl's dark hair caught faint streaks of blue light from the sky, making her seem almost otherworldly. Arukin hesitated before speaking, unsure if his voice would disturb the strange silence. "What is this place really?" he asked. She didn't stop walking, but her voice floated back to him smoothly as though carried on a steady breeze. "A place outside time, a refuge, a memory, a dream, and also a story waiting for its teller." Arukin frowned, confused yet drawn in. "Its teller." The girl finally turned and faced him fully. Her silver eyes reflected him like small mirrors. "Lunaria awakens only when the world is about to change," she said softly, "and it awakens for the one who will guide that change." Arukin felt heat rise in his chest. He had always thought of himself as an ordinary young man who simply liked asking questions, nothing more. "Why would it choose me?" he asked. "Because you listen," she answered warmly. "Most people only hear." Arukin wanted to ask more, but she motioned gently with her hand and guided him toward a tall structure shaped like a half-opened pearlescent shell. The entrance unfolded like stone petals, glowing faintly from within. "You need rest," she said. "Lunaria will take care of the rest." Inside, the air was cool and peaceful. The walls glowed with a soft color somewhere between pale gold and silver blue. In the middle of the chamber was a smooth stone platform, slightly elevated. She touched its surface. "You can rest here. The city will hold your dreams safely." Arokin placed his palm on the stone. It was warm, pleasantly warm, like it had been waiting specifically for him. He lay down slowly, feeling his entire body sink into the surface as if it softened to match him. Before sleep pulled him completely, he whispered, "What is your name?" The girl paused for a brief moment, then answered, "Selara." The name drifted through the room like a calming breeze. "That's beautiful," he murmured, his eyes closing. "Rest, Arokin," she said gently. "When you wake, Lunaria will show you its first truth." The warm hum of the chamber deepened, like the city itself was singing to him, and Arokin fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. His dreams did not take him back to Varushan or the desert. Instead, he found himself floating in vast, swirling light. Thousands of tiny, glowing particles drifted around him, shifting and rearranging like living stars. Shapes formed, mountains rising and falling, rivers pouring from nothing, majestic palaces appearing for moments before dissolving. He walked through a massive ancient hall lined with tall white columns carved with constellations. The air felt heavy, vibrating with history far older than anything he knew. A voice echoed around him, though he saw no speaker. It said, "All worlds begin with a single memory." Arokin turned, searching the endless hall. "Who are you?" "A witness," the voice replied, "a watcher of beginnings." The hall rippled like water. 12 figures appeared in a circle around him, their forms shifting between human and ethereal. They raised their hands together. Above them appeared a glowing golden sphere spinning slowly, a world being born, a creation. Arokin stared in awe, unable to speak. The sphere suddenly dimmed. A crack split across its surface, spreading like a fragile shell breaking. The figures stepped back as if struck. "Even creation has fractures," the voice whispered. "Balance was lost, understanding was forgotten, and when the world grew louder, those who listened grew fewer." The broken sphere melted into light and the hall dissolved. The world around him faded. A hand touched his shoulder. He turned. Selara stood there now, her silver eyes soft but serious. "It's time to wake up," she said. Arokin opened his eyes in the glowing chamber of Lunaria. Selara stood beside him. "You were dreaming," she said, "but it wasn't only a dream." He sat up slowly. "I saw a creation, a world being formed, and then breaking. What did it mean?" Selara moved her hand along the pearled wall thoughtfully. "Long before kingdoms or written stories, the world was balanced by 12 ancient beings. They shaped harmony itself. But something happened, something lost to time, that shattered that balance. The fracture spread through existence, through every part of the world." She looked at him with calm seriousness. "Only one person at a time can begin restoring the path toward harmony, and the echo gate opens for only that person." Arokin's heart felt heavy yet strangely determined. "Why me?" "Because you heard the silence," she said gently. "And silence is the beginning of understanding." Arokin stood, feeling more awake than he expected. "What do I do now?" Selara pointed toward a tall, shimmering arch far down the glowing street. "Now you learn. Lunaria will reveal its truths one by one, and the first truth waits in the Hall of Echoes." Arokin felt something inside him settle, a quiet readiness. "Then let's go," he said. Selara smiled softly. "Good, the city has been waiting for you." Together they stepped into the golden twilight of Lunaria, the ancient city that dreamed beneath forgotten centuries. The night deepened over the ancient valley, and the stars glimmered like distant lanterns hung above the world. Arian walked silently along the narrow stone path that wound between the cliffs. Every step echoed faintly, as if the mountains whispered in an ancient language only they remembered. The air was colder now, and the glow of the sacred orb in his satchel pulsed softly, as though sensing the energy around them. Kalia followed at his side, her eyes observing every shadow, every ripple in the wind. She had grown quieter since they left the silver forest. Something weighed on her mind, something she had yet to speak of. Arian sensed it, yet he said nothing, waiting for her to speak when ready. For a while, only the rustling wind accompanied their journey. Then Kalia finally inhaled deeply. "Arian, when we reach the Valley of Echoes, something will happen," she said softly. "Something I did not tell you before." He stopped walking. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. "The oracle didn't send us there only to find the keeper. The valley tests those who enter. It shows them memories, sometimes forgotten, sometimes painful, and it can change a person." Arian's eyes narrowed. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I feared you might not come," she whispered. "But now we have no choice. The keeper is the only one who knows how to unlock the orb, true power. Without it, we cannot face what's coming." Arian didn't respond right away. The silence between them stretched like a thread pulled too tight, but finally he nodded and continued walking. "Whatever the valley shows me, I'll endure it." Kalia's steps grew a little lighter at his answer. The path eventually opened into a vast clearing. Ahead of them lay a massive stone arch, ancient and weathered, half covered in moss. Strange symbols glowed faintly upon its surface, shifting slowly like breathing runes. Beyond it stretched a shimmering haze, as though the air itself were made of rippling water. "This is it," Kalia murmured, "the entrance." Arian stepped closer, feeling the pull of the valley the moment he approached. The air tasted different, older, heavier, filled with memories that were not his. He placed his hand on the stone, and the runes brightened instantly, reacting to the orb hidden in his satchel. A deep hum vibrated in the air. "You carry the memory of the first flame," a voice whispered, not from Kalia, not from Arian, but from the arch itself, echoing in many tones at once. "Enter, seeker, face what sleeps within." Arian and Kalia exchanged one last look before stepping together through the arch. The world dissolved into swirling light. When the light finally faded, Arian found himself standing in a place that seemed to exist outside time. The sky overhead was a shifting canvas of colors, blue, gold, violet, always moving, always breathing. The ground beneath them was smooth and reflective, like polished obsidian but warm to the touch. Kalia looked around cautiously. The Valley of Echoes, it appears different to each person. It shows you what you need to see. Arian felt the weight of the orb at his side. Its glow grew stronger, casting long patterns of light across the reflective ground. And then the air in front of him rippled, forming a shape. A figure stepped forward, tall, cloaked in silver with a staff made of starlight. Its face was obscured, but its presence felt ancient and powerful. "Welcome, bearer of the flame," the figure said, voice soft yet resonant. "I am the keeper you seek." Kalia bowed respectfully. Arian remained still, studying the keeper with curiosity. "You have traveled far," the keeper continued. "Yet distance is not the hardest obstacle. Before the orb yields its true purpose, you must face the echo of what was and what may be." The ground beneath them glowed, and the reflections began to swirl into shapes, distant scenes, shifting memories, fragments of futures. The keeper lifted his staff. Arian stepped forward. Arian obeyed, though a hint of uncertainty flickered inside him. Kalia watched with quiet concern. The keeper's staff touched the reflective ground, and instantly a wave of light rushed upward, enveloping Arian completely. The world around him blurred, twisting into a new shape. He found himself standing in a forgotten village, a place he barely remembered from childhood. The air smelled of warm bread and wood smoke. He heard laughter in the distance, the voices of people he once knew. A small version of himself ran past him, chasing a wooden bird tied to a string. Arian stared, unable to move, unable to speak. This was his past, one he had not seen since he left the village years ago. Then the sky darkened. A cold wind swept through the village, extinguishing lanterns. The laughter faded. Shadows crept across the ground, swallowing the small houses. Arian felt his breath quicken. A voice echoed from the darkness, one he recognized. You left us." Arian turned. A shadowy shape stood before him, its form shifting, familiar yet distorted. It resembled someone he once admired, an old mentor, a man who vanished in a fire long ago. "You abandoned your home," the shadow hissed. "You ran from your destiny." Arian clenched his fists, anger and guilt rising in him. "That's not true." But the shadow stepped closer. "You fear your power, and your fear will consume you as it consumed everything you cared for." The memory burned around him, flames flickering in the corners of his vision. Smoke filled the air. The ground cracked beneath his feet. Arian felt the fear gripping his chest, threatening to suffocate him. And then through the flames, another voice called out, "Arian, look at me." He turned to see Kalia standing just behind him, her form glowing with soft silver light. Her eyes were steady, grounding him. "This isn't real," she said firmly. "It's the echo trying to break you. Breathe." Arian inhaled shakily. The shadow lurched toward him, but this time Arian didn't step back. Instead, he took a step forward. "I didn't run," he said, voice strong. "I chose a different path, and I'm not afraid of my destiny." A surge of light burst from the orb at his side, splitting the shadow in two. The flames vanished instantly. The village faded. The darkness dissolved. Arian gasped as reality snapped back. He fell to one knee in the Valley of Echoes, breathing hard. The keeper watched silently. Kalia knelt beside him, placing a hand on his back. When Arian finally stood again, the keeper nodded. "You have faced your first echo. You have overcome fear. Now the orb may open its first seal." The orb floated from Arian's satchel, levitating between them. Its surface shifted, unveiling intricate symbols that glowed with renewed power. "This is only the beginning," the keeper said. "Greater shadows await you beyond this valley, but with the orb awakening, your strength will grow." Arian reached out and the orb returned gently to his hands. It now pulsed brighter, warmer, alive. Kalia smiled faintly. "We're closer than ever." The keeper lifted his staff toward the horizon. A new path formed, glowing, winding far into the shimmering distance. "Walk the path of the awaken," he said. "Your journey continues." The glowing path stretched before them like a ribbon of living light, winding through the shifting horizon. Arian felt the orb's warmth settle into his chest, steady and rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Kalia stepped beside him, her expression calm yet alert, as if she sensed something ahead that he could not yet perceive. They moved forward together. Each step made the luminous path hum softly beneath their feet, sending ripples of pale light outward into the strange landscape. Behind them, the keeper and the Valley of Echoes faded slowly, like a memory drifting into mist. The air ahead grew cooler, carrying a scent Arian recognized: fresh stone, old rain, and something metallic. Kalia noticed his reaction. "You feel it too?" she asked. He nodded. "Something ancient, something watching." Kalia didn't look surprised. Instead, she placed her hand on his arm gently. The orb opened its first seal. That alone will attract forces we are not yet prepared for. Arian exhaled. "Then we'll prepare." The path eventually narrowed into a long corridor formed by towering crystal pillars. They rose higher than any tree, their sharp surfaces reflecting light like fragments of shattered stars. The corridor hummed with a soft resonance that vibrated through Arian's bones. Tiny sparks of energy drifted between the pillars, flickering like fireflies. "They're reacting to the orb," Kalia whispered. When Arian touched one of the pillars with the tip of his fingers, the crystal pulsed gently, sending a shiver of light upward. It responded to him, welcoming him. Kalia looked at him with curiosity and a hint of awe. "It's rare," she said quietly. "Most people who pass through here can't awaken the crystal song. They only see the path, but you make it sing." Arian felt a flush of uncertainty. "I don't know why." "You will," she said, "in time." The corridor opened into a vast expanse. a valley unlike any they had seen before. Massive stone structures lay scattered across the land, some half-buried, others split open as if torn apart by some ancient force. Runes glowed on the broken stones, dim and fading like dying embers. Arian stepped closer to one of the remnants. It resembled a monument, tall and carved with complex patterns. When he traced a symbol with his hand, it flickered weakly. Kalia joined him. This was once the hall of the Constellars. They guarded the boundaries between worlds. Arian frowned. What happened to them? No one knows. Some say they vanished in the Great Sundering. Others say they fell in battle against the shadows that once threatened the sky. She touched the same rune. But their power lingers. Their knowledge might still be here. Arian walked deeper into the ruins. The orb glowed gently, reacting to the leftover energy in the air. Bits of dust rose from the ground as if attracted to him, shimmering before falling back again. Then he noticed something else, a faint vibration, subtle but growing stronger. At first it felt like a distant tremor beneath the earth. Then it shifted, becoming a rhythmic pulse. Arian stopped. "Do you hear that?" Kalia paused and listened. Her eyes widened. "That's not the earth," she said. "Something is awakening." The ground beneath the nearest monument cracked suddenly. A deep sound echoed across the valley, like stone splitting open after centuries of silence. Both Arian and Kalia stepped back as the crack spread across the monument, glowing brighter with each passing heartbeat. A gust of cold wind tore through the ruins. The stones lifted from the ground, suspended in the air by an unseen force. They rotated slowly, rearranging themselves with ancient precision. A swirling vortex of light formed in the center. Kalia grabbed Arian's wrist. "Stay behind me. This is a Constellar sentinel." Arian stepped back, but his eyes stayed fixed on the shifting stones. Slowly, a tall humanoid figure emerged from the vortex, formed entirely of crystal and petrified light. Its body glowed with the same runes carved into the ruins. When it spoke, its voice reverberated like many tones blending into one. "Who disturbs the resting hall of the Constellars?" Arian instinctively reached for the orb. It glowed intensely in his hand. The sentinel's eyes, two burning lines of azure light, focused on the orb. "The flame fragment," the sentinel said. "It has awakened again." Kalia bowed her head. "We come seeking knowledge," she said firmly. "The worlds are shifting. We need guidance." The sentinel tilted its head, studying them. "The flame's bearer stands before me, but not all bearers are worthy." A heavy silence fell. Arian felt a surge of heat in his chest, as if the orb's energy resonated with his own heartbeat. "What must I do?" he asked. The sentinel extended an arm toward him. Its crystalline fingers unfolded like petals. In its palm appeared a sphere of glowing stardust. "Take it," the sentinel said, "and face the trial of alignment." Arian reached out. The sphere floated into his hand, warm but slightly electric, like holding a living spark. The sentinel's voice deepened. "Only those with a heart aligned to truth may wield the flame's path. Step forward into the circle." A glowing ring formed in the ground, pulsing with radiant energy. Kalia touched Arian's shoulder. "You don't have to do this alone." But Arian shook his head gently. "I think this part is meant for me." He stepped into the circle. Light rushed upward in a spiral, wrapping around him like a living storm. Symbols flashed, projecting memories, his own and some unfamiliar. His childhood, the shadow he faced in the valley, the village, but also visions of places he had never been. A sky divided in two, a throne shattered by lightning, a storm of darkness crawling across the horizon. Arian gasped as the sphere in his hand dissolved into his chest, merging with the orb's energy. The light intensified until Kalia had to shield her eyes. The sentinel spoke again, its voice echoing through the entire valley. "The bearer is chosen. The path of the flame is open." The circle vanished. Arian stumbled, catching his breath as the light faded. The orb hovered beside him for a moment, brighter and more alive than ever, before settling back into his grasp. Kalia ran to him. "Arian, are you?" "I'm all right," he said, though his voice trembled slightly. But something changed. The sentinel lowered its head respectfully. "You now hold the second resonance of the flame, but beware. With each awakening, the shadows beyond the horizon grow aware of your presence." Arian felt a cold shiver run down his spine. "What shadows?" he asked. The sentinel turned its glowing eyes toward the distant mountains. "The ones that destroyed us," it said, "the ones that will return." A harsh wind swept through the ruins, scattering dust and faint sparks of ancient energy. The sentinel began to dissolve, its crystalline form breaking apart into drifting lights. "Go," it said, "the path awaits. Seek the Starfall Monastery. There the next truth will be revealed." And with a final echo, the sentinel vanished. Kalia looked at Arian, her expression serious. "We need to move. Whatever those shadows are, we're running out of time." Arian nodded, gripping the orb tightly. Together, they stepped forward into the next stretch of the glowing path, the wind at their backs carrying a warning from a forgotten age. The wind carried a low, distant rumble as Arian and Kalia continued along the glowing path that now led toward a range of immense, jagged mountains. The sky gradually shifted from shimmering hues to a deeper, more solemn tone, as if the world sensed the importance of their journey and grew quiet in respect. The orb pulsed faintly against Arian's side, responding to something ahead, something powerful. Kalia walked slightly ahead, scanning the horizon with cautious eyes. She seemed unusually tense. Arian noticed her hand hovering near the hilt of her blade, though she did not draw it. "What's wrong?" he asked softly. She didn't answer at first. Her gaze was fixed on the distant mountains. Finally, she spoke. "The Starfall Monastery is close, but it wasn't always called that. A long time ago, before the Sundering, it was a sanctuary of powerful sages who studied the heavens." Arian listened in silence as she continued. "They guarded ancient knowledge, secrets of creation, destruction, and balance. But after the Sundering, the sky itself broke over those mountains. Stars fell like shards of glass. The monastery was shattered and most of the sages vanished." Arian felt a chill run down his spine. "Do you think any of them survived?" Kalia shook her head. "Maybe, maybe not, but the power they left behind did, and that's what we're walking into." Arian glanced at the orb. The sentinel said the next truth is there. Kalia nodded, and truths that old are rarely gentle. As they approached the base of the mountains, the air grew thin and sharp. Strange gusts of wind echoed like whispers, carrying fragments of distant voices that were impossible to understand. The glowing path dimmed as it sloped upward, merging with uneven stone steps carved long ago by hands no longer living. With each step, Arian felt the resonance of the orb deepen inside him. The second seal had awakened something, an awareness that expanded outward like ripples in water. He could sense vibrations in the ground, the distant rustle of unseen creatures, even Kalia's heartbeat when she walked close to him. He wasn't sure if this newfound awareness was a blessing or a weight. They climbed higher until they reached a plateau overlooking the world below. The view was breathtaking. Clouds drifted beneath them, glowing with the faint light of the setting sun. But the beauty lasted only a moment before something else drew Arian's attention. A trail of scorched earth wound across the plateau, leading toward a ruined archway. The stones around it were cracked, some melted as if struck by unimaginable heat. Kalia knelt and touched the charred ground. "This wasn't natural," she murmured. "Something passed through here." Arian felt the orb grow warmer, something powerful. They followed the trail through the ruined archway and found themselves standing before the remains of the ancient monastery. Towers lay collapsed. Great stone halls were split open, their ceilings torn away. Silver and gold fragments glimmered faintly in the rubble. Strange constellations carved onto the walls flickered with remnants of magic. Arian felt the hair on his arms rise, sensing the energy around him. Kalia inhaled slowly. We're not alone. Arian followed her gaze. At the far end of the courtyard, something moved, slow, deliberate, and heavy. A figure emerged from the shadows cast by the broken pillars. It was tall and armored in plates of dark metal, etched with glowing crimson marks. Its face was hidden behind a helm shaped like the head of a beast. Arian's breath caught. He had never seen anything like it. The armored figure stopped several paces away and lifted its head slightly, as if sniffing the air. Then its gaze fixed on Arian. Its voice emerged like grinding stone. The flame awakens. Kalia stepped in front of Arian instantly, her blade drawn. Identify yourself. The figure's helm cracked open along glowing seams, revealing a pair of burning eyes. I am a harbinger, it said, a messenger of the returning darkness. Arian felt the orb heat violently, reacting to the presence of the harbinger. The ground beneath them trembled with each of its steps. Kalia tightened her grip. Why are you here? The harbinger tilted its head, to witness the bearer of the flame and to deliver a warning. Arian stepped forward despite Kalia's attempt to hold him back. What warning? The harbinger's voice grew low. The shadows have woken. Your awakening did not go unnoticed. The moment the first seal broke, something stirred beyond the veil. When the second seal opened, it turned its gaze toward this world. Arian felt his pulse quicken. What is it? The harbinger lifted an armored hand, and the air darkened around its fingers. A swirling image appeared, a colossal shape hidden in shifting smoke, with wings like storm clouds and eyes like burning voids. The Devouring Star, the harbinger said, the ancient destroyer. Long ago, the Constellars sealed its essence beyond the veil, but the sundering weakened that barrier. Now your light calls to its hunger. Kalia stepped closer to Arian protectively. You said you're a messenger, so speak your message. The harbinger lowered its hand, and the image dissolved. My message is simple. Your path leads to ruin unless you turn back. The flame bearer always falls. That is the fate written in the echo of the stars. Arian met the harbinger's gaze without flinching. I won't turn back. The harbinger stared at him for a moment before speaking again. Then know this, bearer. The monastery still holds one who remembers the old ways, but not all remnants of the Constellars are your allies. Kalia kept her blade ready. What do you mean? You will see, the harbinger said. And when you do, remember my warning. Before they could react, the harbinger slammed the butt of its staff into the ground. A burst of dark energy exploded outward, forcing Arian and Kalia to shield their eyes. When the wind settled, the harbinger was gone. Only a scorched mark remained on the stone floor. Arian exhaled shakily. What was that thing? Kalia sheathed her blade slowly, a sign of what's coming. Arian looked toward the shattered monastery where faint lights flickered deep within the ruins. The orb pulsed again in his hand, bright, urgent, almost guiding. He swallowed hard. The sentinel told us to seek the monastery for the next truth. Kalia nodded. Then that's exactly where we're going. Together, they stepped through the broken entrance of the ancient Starfall Monastery, unaware that something within its forgotten halls had already sensed their arrival and was patiently waiting in the shadows. The interior of the Starfall Monastery was far darker than the ruins outside. Only thin beams of pale light slipped through the shattered ceiling, illuminating swirling dust and fragments of ancient murals. The air felt heavy, almost thick, carrying the faint scent of old incense and long-extinguished flames. Each step Arian and Kalia took echoed across the abandoned halls, as if the monastery itself listened in silence. Arian held the orb tightly, letting its soft glow guide their path. The light spread across broken pillars and collapsed stone, revealing symbols carved into the walls, constellations, spirals and patterns that seemed to shift when looked at too long. Kalia brushed her fingers across one of the faded murals. These symbols, they tell the story of the Constellars' last stand. Arian stepped closer. The mural showed figures raising staffs of light toward the heavens, while dark shapes descended like falling shadows. Above them, a massive starburst symbol shone, cracked down the middle. "What happened here?" Arian whispered. Kalia sighed quietly. "The sundering, when the sky broke, when the devouring star tried to return. The Constellars fought to keep the veil intact, but the cost was everything." Arian studied the cracked starburst, feeling a faint pull deep inside him, as though some part of him recognized it. A strange chill ran through him, but before he could speak, a soft sound echoed through the hall. Not wind, not stone, footsteps. Arian and Kalia turned instantly, weapons and energy ready. The footsteps grew louder, echoing rhythmically, steady and controlled. Then a faint glow appeared from behind a fallen archway, moving slowly toward them. A figure emerged tall, robed in deep silver with a hood that hid most of its face. Only its eyes glimmered beneath the hood, pale and shining like distant stars. Unlike the Harbinger, there was no sense of threat in its presence. Instead, a calm, ancient stillness radiated from it. Kalia lowered her blade slightly but stayed alert. "Who are you?" "I am a watcher," the figure said softly. Its voice was old but clear, like wind passing through crystal. "One of the last remnants of the Constellars." Arian exchanged a glance with Kalia. This was exactly who they hoped to find, but something felt off. There was a sadness in the watcher's voice, a weight heavier than time. "You have come bearing the flame," the watcher said, its eyes shifting to Arian. "Its light calls across the broken veil. You must tread carefully." Arian stepped forward, holding the orb out. "We came for answers. The sentinel said the next truth is here." The watcher studied the orb for a long moment before speaking. "There are truths, yes, but truths can wound as deeply as any blade." Kalia crossed her arms. "We didn't come for comfort, we came for what we need." The watcher inclined its head. "Very well, follow me." It turned and led them deeper into the monastery. The halls grew narrower, the air colder, and the darkness thicker. Faint whispers drifted around them, as though echoes of memories lingered in the stones. Arian felt something tugging at his senses, a resonance from the orb, responding to the monastery's ancient power. Eventually, they reached a massive doorway carved from obsidian. Runes spiraled across its surface like flowing rivers of starlight, faintly glowing. The watcher placed its hand against the door. The runes brightened, humming softly, and the massive door slowly opened. Inside was a vast chamber illuminated by floating shards of crystal. They drifted through the air like fragments of stars, casting shifting patterns on the floor. At the center of the chamber stood an enormous stone table, cracked but still solid. Upon it rested a circular engraving, a map of the heavens, with lines and points marking constellations. Arian stepped toward it. "What is this place?" "The celestial nexus," the watcher said, "where the Constellars observe the balance of the worlds. Here lies the memory of what came before and what may come again." Kalia examined the floating crystals. "Why did you stay? Everyone else is gone." "I remained," the watcher replied quietly, "because someone had to guard the truth. Someone had to wait for the flame to awaken again." Arian touched the engraved map. The moment his fingers brushed the stone, the orb reacted, flaring with sharp, bright light. The entire chamber trembled. The floating crystals vibrated and rearranged themselves into patterns above the table. The watcher stepped back. "It has begun." Arian felt a rush of energy flood through him. The engraving beneath his hand lit up, constellations glowing one by one. Lines connected them, forming shapes, dragons, wings, storms, and eyes. Then the lines shifted violently, twisting into a new form, a massive dark star surrounded by broken rings. Kalia inhaled sharply. The Devouring Star. The image expanded, covering the entire chamber. The dark star pulsed like a beating heart. Rings of shadow rippled outward, consuming light wherever they touched. The Watcher nodded slowly. This is its mark, the essence that once threatened all creation. Ardin felt the orb vibrating uncontrollably. His vision blurred, and suddenly he was no longer in the chamber. He was floating in an endless void. Stars shimmered around him, spinning slowly. A colossal shadow moved through the void, vast, winged, whispering with a voice that shook the cosmos. "Bearer," the shadow murmured, "I feel you." Ardin tried to move, but he was frozen. The shadow turned toward him. Two blazing eyes opened in the darkness, burning like falling suns. "Your light calls to me." A wave of fear crashed over him. He tried to break free, but the shadow reached out, its enormous hand stretching across the void. Then a voice, Kalia's voice, cut through the vision. "Ardin, come back." Light shattered the darkness, and Ardin stumbled backward into the chamber, gasping. Kalia caught him by the shoulders. The orb dimmed slowly in his hands, returning to its normal glow. The Watcher watched silently. Ardin swallowed, his voice shaking. "I saw it, the Devouring Star, it's alive." The Watcher nodded with grim acceptance. "It has waited for centuries, and now your awakening stirs it. The seals weaken, the veil trembles." Kalia steadied Ardin. "Then what's the next step?" The Watcher lifted its hand. The floating crystals descended, aligning themselves above the star map. A new constellation lit up, one shaped like a winding serpent. "You must seek the serpent's spine," the Watcher said. "There lies the third resonance of the flame. Only with all resonances awakened can the Devouring Star be challenged." Ardin looked at the glowing constellation, feeling the weight of destiny press on him harder than ever. Kalia stepped closer, her voice firm. "We're ready." But the Watcher shook its head slowly. "No, you are not." The chamber dimmed. The floating crystals pulsated like warning hearts. "For the serpent's spine is guarded by something far older than the Constellars. Something that does not sleep. Something that remembers you, Kalia." Kalia froze. Ardin turned to her, confused. "Remembers her? What does that mean?" But before Kalia could speak, the entire monastery trembled violently, and a chilling roar echoed in the distance, deep, ancient, and hungry. The Watcher's eyes widened. "They have found you." Ardin's blood ran cold. Something was coming, and it was already inside the monastery. The moon hung low over the ancient valley as Ardin and Lira followed the unseen pull that guided them deeper into the unknown. The air grew colder, yet strangely softer, like the whisper of forgotten spirits drifting between the towering stones. The path beneath their feet widened, curving gently toward a faint blue glow shimmering in the distance. Neither of them spoke. Words felt heavy here, as if every sound risked waking whatever slept beneath the earth. The whispering wind returned, this time clearer, more melodic, like 1,000 distant voices humming in harmony. Lira slowed, her eyes narrowing. "Do you hear that?" she breathed. Ardin nodded. "It feels like it's calling us." They moved carefully, stepping over ancient roots and cracked stone slabs carved with symbols eroded by time. Each step seemed to anchor them deeper into a world untouched by centuries, a place where the boundary between myth and reality dissolved. The blue glow brightened, and soon they found the source, a vast cavern entrance, framed by two colossal statues. Their faces had crumbled, but their posture, arms crossed over their chests, radiated authority. Lira touched the stone surface. It pulsed faintly beneath her fingertips. "It's alive," she whispered. "Or remembers being alive," Ardin replied. Inside the cavern, the glow intensified, revealing a massive chamber lined with crystal veins. The air shimmered with energy. Ardin felt the mark on his wrist heat up, responding to the pulse within the walls. Lira noticed it too, her eyes widened. "It's reacting," she said. "Whatever is here, it knows you." Ardin swallowed hard. Then we're close. They walked until the tunnel opened into a circular hall so vast that the ceiling disappeared into darkness. In the center stood a stone platform, floating above the ground, rotating slowly like a suspended island. Runes glowed across its surface, the same runes Ardin had seen in his visions. The moment he approached, the air thickened. A gust of wind spiraled upward, and blue fire erupted around the platform, forming a spinning ring. Lira grabbed his arm. Ardin, wait. But it was too late. The glowing mark pulled him forward like a magnet. He stepped onto the platform, and the fire expanded, enveloping him in blinding light. Lira shouted his name, but her voice sounded distant, swallowed by a roaring current of energy. Ardin's vision blurred. He felt weightless, suspended in a void of swirling light and darkness. Then slowly, the roaring faded. A figure emerged from the haze. Tall, cloaked, faceless, yet somehow familiar. "You have walked long to reach this place," the figure said, its voice echoing as though spoken by many throats at once. "The seal recognizes you." Ardin tried to speak, but his throat tightened. Who are you?" "I am the one who was left behind, the guardian of what remains. And you are the one chosen to awaken what once slept." Ardin shook his head. "Chosen? I don't understand." "You do not need to understand, only to accept." The figure raised its hand. The platform vibrated, runes burning brighter. Images flashed before Ardin's eyes. An ancient war, cities swallowed by shadows, titans of stone marching across scorched lands. And then, an enormous gate splitting the heavens, sealed by a blinding burst of light. Ardin gasped as pain stabbed through his chest. "Stop," he shouted. "I can't." But the visions poured on, relentless. "You carry their echo," the figure said. "The power they entrusted to the last of their line. You cannot run from it." Ardin fell to his knees, clutching his head. "Why me?" "Because fate bends toward those who try hardest to escape it." The light dimmed. The figure stepped closer. "Rise." Ardin struggled to his feet. The energy surrounding him condensed at his core, forming a glowing sphere that pulsed like a heartbeat. The platform lowered and the flames died out. When the light cleared, Ardin stood alone again in the cavern hall, except Lira was now rushing toward him. Ardin, what happened?" He staggered but caught himself. I saw them, the ancient ones. They sealed something away, something enormous." Lira's breath shook. "And now?" Ardin looked down at his hands. Electricity danced between his fingers, faint but visible. "Now I think they've awakened it in me." Lira stared at him, torn between fear and awe. "So the power is real." "So is the danger," Ardin replied softly. "And whatever waits beyond this cavern, it knows we are coming." The crystal veins across the walls suddenly dimmed. A low rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the sound of shifting stone echoed in the distance. Lira drew her blade. "That doesn't sound good." Ardin turned toward the tunnel entrance. Shadows rippled along the walls, dragging themselves closer like living smoke. "No," he said, "it doesn't." A piercing screech split the air as the shadows formed into creatures, twisted silhouettes with glowing eyes and jagged limbs. They lunged forward, crawling across the floor with unnatural speed. Ardin raised his hand instinctively. Light flared from his palm, blasting the creatures back in a wave of raw energy. The cavern trembled from the impact. Lira stared at him. "Ardin, you didn't even think." "I didn't have time." "Good," she said, stepping beside him, blade ready. "Because we're not done yet." The creatures recovered, shrieking as they surged again, faster this time, forming a dark tide. Ardin clenched his fists. "Stay close." They fought as the cavern roared around them, Lira with precision, Ardin with rising power he barely understood. Energy erupted from his body in instinctive bursts, shielding them, pushing back the darkness. But each attack drained him. the mark glowing brighter with every pulse. Finally, the last creature dissolved into smoke. Silence returned. Ardin collapsed to one knee, panting. Lira knelt beside him. "You used too much." "I didn't have a choice." "You always have a choice," she said softly. Ardin met her gaze. "Maybe not anymore." The cavern's glow dimmed further, as though warning them that time was running out. Lira stood and offered her hand. "Then we move, before whatever sent those things finds out they failed." Ardin took her hand and rose. "Where now?" Lira pointed toward a narrow passage revealed by the collapsing stone. "That way. The air is warmer there, and I feel something." Another calling. More like, she hesitated, a presence. Ardin's stomach tightened. "Then we're getting close." They walked side by side into the dark passage. The light behind them faded until only a faint glow clung to the crystals embedded in the walls. The path wound downward, deeper than any structure should logically extend, as if carved not by hands but by a force that shaped the world itself. After a long descent, the tunnel opened into a chamber filled with floating lantern-like orbs, each containing swirling fragments of golden mist. Lira reached toward one. "What are these?" Ardin stepped closer. "Memories." "Memories. I can feel them. They're echoes of the people who lived here, their thoughts, their fears, their hopes." He touched one and it flickered, projecting a brief image into the air. A woman holding a glowing stone, whispering a prayer as the sky turned black behind her. Lira exhaled slowly. They knew something terrible was coming. "They tried to stop it," Ardin said, "but they didn't win." A sudden gust swept through the chamber. The lanterns flickered violently, swirling into a chaotic storm. The golden mist fused into a single beam that shot upward, illuminating a towering door at the far end of the room, carved from black stone, sealed shut by 3 glowing locks. Ardin and Lira exchanged a look. "That's it," Ardin whispered. "The gate in my vision." Lira nodded. "Then behind it lies the truth," Ardin finished. "And the thing they tried to seal." The ground trembled again, harder this time. Dust rained from the ceiling. A distant roar reverberated through the stone, deep and ancient. Lira tightened her grip on her blade. "We need to move faster." Ardin touched the first lock. It pulsed, responding to his presence. The energy mark glowed brighter. "Then let's begin." Ardin touched the first glowing lock on the black stone door. The orb in his hand flared brightly, resonating with the seal. Each lock pulsed in sequence, as if recognizing his presence, and slowly, painfully, they began to melt into light. A deep hum filled the chamber, vibrating through every stone, crystal, and bone in the ancient monastery. Lira stood beside him, her blade ready, her eyes scanning the shadows that shifted along the walls. The third lock dissolved with a final burst of golden energy, and the enormous door groaned, moving slowly on unseen hinges. Beyond it lay a chamber that seemed to exist outside of time. The air shimmered with silver and gold light, and floating above a pedestal in the center was a massive crystalline sphere, pulsing with a rhythm that matched Ardin's heartbeat. This is it," he whispered, awestruck. "The final resonance." The orb in his hand leapt in response, merging its glow with the sphere. The chamber filled with blinding light. Shadows from the corners of the monastery surged forward, but the light from the 2 orbs pushed them back, scattering darkness like leaves in a storm. A presence emerged from the sphere, a colossal form of shifting starlight. Its eyes were endless galaxies, its wings stretched across the chamber like a night sky in motion. It exhaled, and the air shimmered with power. "You have awakened the flame," it said, voice echoing through the cosmos itself. "You hold the power of the Constellars, the memories of the ancients, and the courage of your own heart. Now the Devouring Star will be challenged." The shadow from Ardin's vision appeared at the threshold, massive and terrifying, but it faltered when it touched the radiant energy of the flame. Ardin stepped forward, raising the orb high. Its light flared, enveloping both him and the monstrous shadow. The darkness writhed, screaming with 1,000 voices, yet it could not withstand the purity of the awakened resonance. Lira joined him, placing her hand on his shoulder. Together, they poured their resolve into the orb, focusing every ounce of courage, every memory, every hope into the crystal's power. Light cascaded in waves, washing over the devouring star. The enormous form twisted, then shattered into fragments of shadow, dissolving into the air like smoke blown into the sky. The chamber trembled once more, then settled. Silence returned, deeper and purer than ever. The crystalline sphere floated above the pedestal, calm and glowing steadily. Ardin felt his own heartbeat slow as a profound sense of peace washed over him. The shadows had been defeated, not destroyed but balanced, their hunger quelled by the light he now carried. The Watcher appeared once more, smiling faintly. "You have done what was thought impossible. The flame burns brighter now, and the worlds are safer because of it." Ardin looked at Lira. We did it." "Yes," she said, a gentle smile crossing her face. "Together." The chamber began to dissolve, light spilling outward into the mountains, washing over the valley, the monastery, and beyond. When the light faded, Ardin and Lira found themselves standing at the top of the glowing path once more, the monastery ruins quiet and still. The orb rested gently in Ardin's hands, calm now, its purpose fulfilled for now. Ardin took a deep breath, looking at the horizon where the stars glimmered softly. "It's over." "For today," Lira said, placing her hand on his arm. "The worlds will always need guardians, but right now rest. We've earned it." They walked back down the path, leaving the monastery behind, the wind carrying a soft, approving whisper through the valleys and stones. The devouring star was gone, or at least held at bay, and the flame's light would endure. As night fell fully over the land, Ardin looked up at the sky, feeling a profound connection to the stars, to the Constellars, and to every soul that had once walked the path he now completed. In that moment, he knew the journey was only one of many, but this chapter, this trial, had ended. The orb glowed softly, and for the first time in a long time, Ardin smiled fully, feeling the weight of destiny lift slightly from his shoulders. He turned to Lira. "Let's go home." Together, they descended the glowing path, leaving the ancient trials behind. The stars twinkled above, silent witnesses to the bravery, the courage, and the unyielding light of those who dared to stand against darkness. And in that eternal night, peace settled for now. Wow, what a journey! Ardin and Lira faced shadows, ancient powers, and the unknown, and together, they brought light back to a world on the brink. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. I hope you enjoyed stepping into this mysterious, magical world. If you liked the story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic tales and adventures. For now, it's time to rest, recharge, and dream of your own incredible journeys. Good night, sweet dreams, and may your imagination always shine bright. See you in the next adventure.